restraining order where I don't want to shout unless I see you sleeping. If I see you sleeping, I'm going to shout. We're translating for Vincent, that's good. So, I really don't like this message. We'll probably have a big listener. Everybody will go, listen. You know, all our listenership will go up. It used to be in the old days, whenever I know I had something very important to say to the Kihilao, the attendance would be low. Whenever I had to wing it, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to say, the place would be packed. Welcome to the ministry, boys and girls. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Before I forget, Brother Wilbur, Brother Vincent, and Brother Ray will be here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock helping me to move to our brother's house. We're finally going to find out that we are our brother's keeper. We're going to park at a distance, if we can, and we're not going to interrupt the home fellowship. We're going to make believe we are not in a home. So I'll be preaching for a few minutes or a few hours, depending on how things go. A message entitled, Embracing the Pattern. Embracing the Pattern. Moshe Rabbeinu built the tabernacle in the wilderness according to the heavenly pattern showed to him on Mount Sinai. We are to likewise set aside our learned or perhaps comfortable patterns in order to rebuild renewed covenant Israel according to the pattern shown us in Scripture and in the book of Acts, which is a historical recording of the acts of the Ruach HaKodesh. You've heard it said that the Acts is a book about the acts of the apostles. No. No, it's the acts of the Ruach HaKodesh done through the apostle. The first century Shlichim. How do you say apostles? Darryl, how do you say apostles? Talmidim? No, that's students. Talmidim is disciples, students. Shlichim, the first century apostles, Shlichim. If we follow the Ruach, we will once again start to build according to pattern. Again, I don't like this message because Yahweh has had to bring me a long way through a lot of hardships and many Absalom experiences to bring me to this point. So I don't like this message. Turn to your neighbor and say he doesn't like this message.
I don't like this message.
Turn to your other neighbor and say, but I might.
Well, I might.
Traditional Jewish people, as we know, meet in synagogues. This is clear. When Yeshua entered the public synagogue, it was usually referred to in the Besorah, the Gospel, as their synagogue. Early Nazarene Israelite believers, on the other hand, by and large, with very few exceptions, met in homes and not public synagogues or public churches. The only reference we have to a public place of national assembly for born-again believers outside the home is the temple on Mount Moriah, where believers appeared in public for the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 Ascension feasts of Chag Matzot, Chag Shavuot, and Chag Sukkot, the Shalosh Regalim. This was the national public house of meeting. But this was the exception and not the rule, making them special times and special events. The Moadim of Yahweh, the Shalosh Regalim. Today the temple does not stand, and so virtually all meetings are to be conducted. I'm going to make a statement, and listen carefully. So virtually all meetings are to be conducted in a home.
Wow.
This is your rabbi talking. This is the same guy who would rent and rent and rent and rent and rent and rent, so much that I almost got a part in the musical. I almost auditioned for the musical. That's how much I used. Rivka can tell you. As soon as we got married, we drove by an empty storefront. What was the first thing I said, hon? If I see something that says for lease or for sale, I turn to Rivka and say, hey, that's a good place for a shul. So nobody's more into buildings, or was into buildings, than I am. But I believe we're going to see today, when we embrace the pattern, that all meetings are commanded. Commanded, that's a big word. To be conducted in a home, where intense discipleship was and can and is to take place. Let's have a closer look at where unbelieving Jewish people first unbelieving Jewish people meet. Now let me again say, I used to love public ministry. Big stages, big platforms, big microphones, big crowds, big speakers, public speakers from the UK, from India, concerts, big events. That was me. Many of you have known me that way for many, many years. But I gotta confess to you, all those years I knew I was doing the wrong thing. But I couldn't let it go. I had no way out. I was married to 3 bays, a sanctuary, a Moed Hall, and a school. I was married to 90 people, half of whom were ingrates. But I couldn't be unfaithful to the others. And so I was stuck. That plus the fact that I felt obliged to my commitments. That plus the fact that I didn't want to meet in a home. Because to me, a home was acquiescing, retreating.
Yes.
Taking the easy way.
Yes.
Being lazy. Not having to drive.
Yes. Yes.
Not having to get ready. I detested home fellowships.
Yes.
Because I saw them as cheap substitutes. Easy way out, lazy, a lazy man's way of discipleship and conducting ministry. Given the choice to this day between holding Nazarene Israelite services in Calvary Chapel with TV cameras rolling and 20,000 people, or going to our brother's home in his living room and his backyard, I would choose Calvary Chapel. That's me. That's me. I haven't changed. So this is not a message of personal agenda or personal preference. But for years I knew it was wrong. I would laugh or look down upon or ridicule people who had no congregation. They just met in somebody's home. A couple of people in the home. I didn't think much of those people.